Humanity, I love you all with all my heart, with all my might. I'm Solar Ray. My videos are about love, infinity, creation, because we're infinite love, infinite energy, infinite creation. This is who we are with the human race. We live to love and we love to live with the human heartbeat, the pulse of life, the pulse of creation. The human heartbeat generates the electromagnetic field of creation that powers the human body. So we can have the singularity of the mind, the singularity of the heart, the singularity of the lungs, the singularity of all organs and glands in the human body, so we can be conscious and self-aware and love with the highest energy of creation, which is the energy of the human heart. Okay, so this video is part of a series of videos on freedoms. This is a space and vacuum freedoms video in the series of freedoms that we have as per the Republic of Planet Earth Constitution, our Constitution, who we are, the Republic of Planet Earth, humanity. Who we are, infinite eternal creators, the human race. We're co-creators of infinite eternities. This is exactly who we are. This is exactly who we are. We are the energy from the sun. This is who we are. And not any sun, the central sun. The central sun, the first singularity of our universe. The sun that originated in all the light in the cosmos, that created all the galaxies and all the life forms. And we're the central species, the central life form here on Earth, because we were the first species to evolve into light spherical energy. That this is what we are, the light spherical energy that surrounds the human body. And the space structure of that spherical energy is us. What we see, our bodies, our perceptions, our sensory perception, our consciousness of self-awareness, our infinite love of creation. Who we are, the human race, who we are. The human DNA, the body, the organs, the glands, infinity. Love is the highest energy of creation, and we are the biological expression of that. Infinity, eternal, we're biology, we're evolution. Singularities of all organs and glands. We are the highest energy of creation with the human heart. The resonance. This is who we are, self-awareness, consciousness, infinite love. Love is the highest energy of creation. Love is the flow of infinity, and this is precisely who we are, you see. Love is the key that unlocks the infinite structure of our DNA, who we are, the human race. So let's talk about today's freedom, space and vacuum freedoms. This is a fundamental freedoms of our republic. Upon Earth, all of us humans here on Earth, with a heartbeat, we're all citizens of the Republic of Planet Earth. We all have the infinite ability to love with all our hearts and all our mights, and ascend into infinity, which is what we have done. So we're sundials. We stare at the sun. We open our eyes, open our hearts, open our minds, open the portal and build the bridge, and ascend into infinity, who we are, infinite eternal creators. You see, remember, tap into our infinite structure of our DNA. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about space and vacuum freedom. So, and we're compass as well. Let me just reiterate that we're compass as well, with the primary elements of compass as infinite eternal creators, where with identity and true self, so we know our infinite nature. With purpose, so we manifest our free will with purposeful daily action, consciousness and self-awareness, the love of creation, our love of our hearts, the energy of creation. We're time and energy. We're action. We're why, how. See? We are flow. We're true north and destination. This is who we are. We're infinite eternal creators. We're the human race. This is precisely who we are. This infinite virtuous cycle of compass and sandal as one. Consciousness and self-awareness into infinity. Who we are, infinite eternal creators, co-creators of infinite eternities, the human race. Who we are. Okay, so let's talk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about space and vacuum freedom. So space and vacuum freedom is our freedom to tap into space and vacuum structures, the fabric of reality, of existence, of the cosmos itself, of infinity, really. Is this virtuous cycle of space and vacuum coming as one and creating light spherical energy that's conscious and self-aware, which is us, infinity, creation itself, right? It's everything. Singularities form as a result of these space and vacuum structures filling as spherical vacuum thresholds within tension of a sphere, And that generates that singularity that fills that space and structure. And that singularity is that energy, right? Because when the space and structure of the spherical vacuum thresholds within the sphere, that space structure is filled, it leads to infinity because it's the single point where all points meet, right? The energy is generated because the tension is so high because of the tension of the sphere, the bigger sphere, right? The space and vacuum structure of infinity itself, of creation itself, is released. And that fills that spherical vacuum threshold. And that energy generates the singularity. And that singularity is precisely who we are, infinite eternal creators, right? Everything is that at any level of scale and any level of creation, any level of density. We happen to be the human density, the biological density of the human DNA, our consciousness and self-awareness, our love, our self-realization of who we are, space and vacuum at the structure of the molecules of the DNA, who we are, our level of density, a level of infinity, who we are, because we all infinite, but we're conscious and self-aware of our level of infinity. And we manifest our free will as compass because of our dual nature of compass and sundial. You see this duality principle of this infinite cycle of creation, this virtuous cycle of infinite creation, compass and sundial. So why are we these? Well, because we are at the epicenter of creation, you see. We are at the epicenter of creation. This is precisely where we are because of our location, our coordinate. Planet Earth is at the epicenter of creation itself. This is where planet Earth is located, right? The central sun, the singularity that created this universe in the first place. And where did the energy come from for this singularity to form so a new universe would emerge, which is our universe that we're the epicenter of? Well, it came from the surface of the tension of the sphere of infinity and creation and the web of infinity, the infinite number of creations, filaments of creations and fabrics across space vacuum, across infinity itself, across creation and the creator, everything, because it's the same thing as infinite. The creator is infinite eternal energy, spherical energy. And the sun as a singularity is just the representation of that, right? Spherical energy that creates everything. All the energy, all the light, photons come out of it. But what generates that singularity, right? That singular point where all points meet, that central point, that central sun where all the energy emanates from? Well, the bigger infinity, the tension on the surface of a bigger infinity that is released because that infinity is full, meaning all the space structure within it, within that sphere of infinity, is packed, right? It's full with all these spherical vacuum thresholds within it because an infinite number of spherical vacuum thresholds within it. And each of those spherical vacuum thresholds is a universe. All right? So when that sphere is packed and is full, then its own singularity releases this energy from the tension of its sphere, the gravity, right? Space structure itself, like space curvature as we call it. So that energy is released. And that energy that is released, just like the sun releases energy into infinity or singularity, then that energy is released into a new space structure, right? The space and vacuum structure that generates that spherical vacuum threshold, which is a singularity where all points meet at the epicenter of that electromagnetic field of that new creation. And that is a sphere of creation of what we call the universe. The first sun emerges as a result. And there's an infinite number of universes out of this tension of the spheres. You see, the system is self-sustainable because infinity is that. Infinity is self-sustainable. It's an endless cycle of creation. An infinite number of universes and an infinite number of central suns and an infinite number of creations within those central suns of universes that those singularities, create light and energy at the core of it, right? Photons and elements, hydrogen and helium, and those go into the cosmos, right? Into space. And feel the space structure of that sphere, that universe. And they form galaxies as a result of that by feeling the spherical thresholds, right? The spherical vacuum thresholds within the space structure of the sphere of that universe, and the galaxies are formed. So this is a natural process. It's space and vacuum freedoms. We all know this, right? This is the nature. This is who we are. This is the creator. This is creation. Space and vacuum coming together as one in this infinite virtuous cycle of creation. Right, that is infinity itself, and it leads to consciousness and self-awareness to us as infinite eternal creators. co-creators of infinite eternities with our mind, with the energy of our heart. Okay, so and infinity itself, right? When the first sun, right, of a universe that is born, yeah, is the singularity gets started, that becomes the first galaxy. So it becomes the singularity, the epicenter of the first galaxy, at the epicenter of the universe, the center, the core, the heart of it, because all the energy is coming from the tension of the biggest sphere of infinity, a vortex, right? And it's all that energy is coming in as a wormhole, right? It generates this singular point where all points meet, with the energy of the tension of the sphere of the electromagnetic field that was created in the first place meets at that point. And that singularity, that point, is the central sun of a universe. What's feeding that energy were the electromagnetic field of that universe. And what's feeding that electromagnetic field of that universe? Well, the tension of the sphere of the infinity of an infinite number of universes that release that, because its energy releases energy into infinity. And that fills the space structure itself of infinity, of space. And the space vacuum mechanisms interact in the way of spherical vacuum thresholds, and that is what is it. And that energy is that, and it goes to infinity at any levels of scale and density, right? To infinity, right? Infinitely large, infinitely small, infinitely dense, infinitely non-dense, right? So it forms into matter, right? At the level of consciousness that we are, we see it as rocks at the hardest of levels, right? That level of solidification. Or we can see it at the highest of level of densities, into the creation of a central sun of a universe, which is this incredible energy that creates everything that eventually leads to matter and solidification into rocks and minerals and things like that we see around, right? In a galaxy, for example. So essentially, the central sun, right? Our sun is that. We're at the epicenter of the central sun of this universe. The Milky Way is the epicenter of the center of this universe that we inhabit, right? The center, the first singularity was our sun, the central sun, and out of this is the epicenter of our galaxy, right? The first galaxy of this universe. And that sun, which is our sun, that energy of creation is released from it, right? Because that sun is a singularity, and at the core of it, light is generated, is created. So that light goes into infinity, meaning goes into the space structure and the space and vacuum of the space structure of that infinity, which is that universe, because of the light that comes from the core of it, from the heart, right? From the central sun, our sun, the first sun, the sun of suns of this universe, at the epicenter of the first galaxy, our galaxy, the Milky Way. So what happens is that as a result of that, right, all that energy moves across space, and right, of the structure of that sphere within it, the electromagnetic field of the universe, right, that creates the singularity in the first place, the central one, the tension of it, right? So then what does it do? Well, that energy moves, and as it moves across space, then it fills spherical vacuum thresholds within the structure of space of the sphere. And when those spherical vacuum thresholds are met, it's just an electromagnetic field of the galaxy itself that forms, so it generates that new singularity that is the epicenter of a new galaxy, that is not at the epicenter of infinity of the creation of the universe, but is in the proximity. And then that goes to infinity from the energy of our sun, and then because of the density, right, and it starts to populate new galaxies all over the space structure of infinity itself, of our infinity, right, where we belong this universe, until the point where all the space structure of this universe is filled, right, with galaxies, an infinite number of galaxies. And when that happens, the tension of the surface is so high of infinity itself, our universe, that our universe generates an infinite number of universes as a result of it, because it releases energy just like a central sun. Well, our universe as such is one electromagnetic, gravitational, light spherical energy reality, right, an eternity. And that itself releases that tension just like the sun releases that energy and that light. That itself, once it's filled, releases another one, and a new universe is created as a result. And it goes to infinity, you see, like that. It goes to infinity. So infinity creates infinities, and eternity creates eternities, and it goes into infinity because of this natural ability of space and vacuum structures. And it fills the space structure of the sphere, which is spherical vacuum thresholds. and this sphere of singularities form at the epicenter in levels of density. So the first sun is the highest, the brightest point, right? Because it creates all light. And then it creates galaxies and it goes like that. But then the galaxy that it created as a result of it, then there's a level of density, right? Not as high energy because it was created by a higher energy. But that energy itself has its own singularity that is fed by the energy of the sphere of the universe, which is the energy that's coming from the singularity release point, which is our central sun. So that galaxy, at the epicenter of it, there is a singularity, a sun that creates everything, that spews all the light out, releases all this energy, and that energy moves across the space structure of that galaxy that has its own electromagnetic field, which is spherical in nature. And the epicenter is that the central sun of that galaxy, right? And that releases all the energy, right? Photons, light, elements. And those elements feel the same process happens to infinity. So feels the spherical vacuum thresholds within the space structure of that sphere, which is that galaxy. And then stars are born. New stars, new singularities at a different level of density, you see, because it's not the epicenter of that galaxy. So different density, it's less dense, right? So in terms of energy concentration, because it was created by a bigger source of energy. But it's energy, right? It's high energy, but it's less dense, right? So essentially, what that means is that it goes to infinity. So this central sun of the galaxy creates all this energy, right? That's liberated, released. And that energy fills the space structure, the space vacuum structure of the space of that sphere, which is the electromagnetic field of that galaxy. And then the star systems are formed in the periphery of that galaxy. And a star system is a sun, right? It's a star, and that releases energy at a level of density due to its own singularity at the epicenter of it, right? And those elements, those energies that are released, right? Then again, what do? They generate planets, right? Because they solidify into matter eventually. And, because matter comes together at a level of density because so much creation, so many levels of scales of creation that lead to that to densify. To densify in the way of a matter, rather than the high density of energy is the high density of matter. It's a different level, it's a scale of creation, right? And that go to the point until life forms emerge at that level of consciousness, that level of awareness of that star system, of that galaxy, of that universe, that infinity, because it goes to infinity. So that space vacuum freedoms, right? It's understanding that we're free to tap into the space vacuum structures of infinity and create with it. Singularity devices, singularity freedoms, right? Spherical devices that tap into the fabric of existence and create infinite energy as a result. And this is precisely who we are. This is the human race. And why is space and vacuum freedom so important? Because it's our origin story, it's who we are as a species. It's literally our origin story, you see. Why? Because origin means the beginning, right? The first, the genesis, the beginning. So our species happen to be the first species in our universe that evolved into light spherical energy as we are, conscious and self-awareness, as a life form, as a DNA structure, biology. Why? Because we come from the first galaxy at the epicenter of the singularity of our universe. When our universe was created, the first sun is our sun. And how was our universe created? By the tension of the surface of the sphere of infinity itself, by releasing infinite energy due to being filled by its space structure with an infinite number of universes within it. So when that space structure is filled within this tension of the sphere of infinity itself, a new infinity is formed, a new universe is formed as a result, because that energy is released into space. And the space structure of it is filled with space vacuum dynamics, those spherical vacuum thresholds that are met at singularity points because of the electromagnetic field that is generated due to the energy that is released and creates that tension on the surface that generates the vortex required for the wormhole, which is a node, that singularity that is fed with the energy from the tension of infinity itself. And this goes to infinity large, infinity small, and this is space vacuum structures. So that's the creator, that's infinity, it's infinite energy of creation. And that manifests into consciousness and self-awareness in the end, because it's creating, right? It densifies into that. It densifies into consciousness, self-awareness, infinite love, infinite creation. That's what it does. And we are that as a species. Conscious and self-aware of space vacuum structures, space vacuum freedoms. part of the Republic of Planet Earth, and this is our nature. And why have we been able to be conscious and self-aware enough to understand these and know what space vacuum freedoms are and understand the nature of the creator and infinity itself, creation? Because we are it. You see, we are it at the biological scale. We're an incredible species. So what is the meaning of this? Well, it's very simple. Why is this even possible? It's because our galaxy is the first galaxies of this universe, of this creation, right? This singularity. Our sun is the central sun of this universe, right? This is what our sun is, precisely that. And our species was the life form that originated at the closest proximity to the central sun in the first galaxy. Our planet of origin was the first planet that was able to host a life form in the way of a DNA, which is the human race, us, that could evolve into consciousness and self-awareness and understand the nature of existence. And we had an infinite number of cycles of evolution required for us to ascend to that level of consciousness and awareness, to understand that we were created and we became creators as a result of that, by understanding the nature of creation itself. And how were we able to do this? Is because we were the first. Because at the epicenter of this universe is the first galaxy, right? And the galaxy, the singularity, the central sun of it, our sun, generates all the energy that moves into existence, that creates all the other galaxies and the star systems within the galaxies, right? So we were the first star system, right? The first sun, the first planet inhabiting the periphery of the central sun. And because we were the first, what that means is that we had an infinite number of cycles to develop ourselves without having to deal with conflict or any other races or anyone that would impede us from doing so. Why? Because we were the first. So we were the first galaxy, the first star system. So everything came after us. And because it takes a very long time for life forms to evolve into what we are, by being the first, that means that we had the time necessary to evolve into that without any blockades. Because we had an infinite number of cycles required. Why? Because of the proximity to the brightness of these of the central sun. Because all the other galaxies, all the star systems, everything formed after us. So they were younger than us. We're the most ancient, we're the oldest. So we had the time required, the mechanisms required to evolve into light spherical energy, which is us. The human heartbeat is that, is the electromagnetic field of creation. It's the human pulse of life, right? Pulse of life, the pulse of creation. The human heartbeat is that, it's an electromagnetic field that is surrounding the human body. And the human body is a space structure within that electromagnetic field that we see and that makes us conscious and self-aware. So we see reality for what it is with our sensory perceptions. So this is who we are. So you see, and this happened an infinite number of cycles ago, because the universe is infinitely old. Creation is infinitely old. So are we, our DNA. And this is space vacuum structures, right? Space vacuum freedom. So what happened? So this is our origin story. This is who we are as a species. So what happened was that in the infinite wisdom of our ancestors, our predecessors, heritage and legacy freedoms, who we are as a Republic of Planet Earth, all our ancestors were the epicenter of the universe, right? They were the closest in the proximity to the central sun, so they came before everyone else. So they had enough time to evolve into a civilization that could master space vacuum structure. So they themselves can mimic the central sun and create galaxies. So our ancestors were galaxy makers, galaxy creators. They would tap into the fabric of space vacuum and create singularities at epicenters of spherical vacuum thresholds across the space of our universe, because it was still young, it was still new, so there was space to be filled. So we knew that, and we tap into the energy of the central sun by space vacuum thresholds that we understood. Because of our technology, we were able to develop to that level, so we could create galaxies ourselves that would form into life forms eventually, by them themselves forming into star systems that would host planets. So we were able to do that because we were at the epicenter of the universe, you see. From the epicenter is the closest point to everywhere, and it's the brightest point, you see, it's the light. We come from the brightest point in the universe. That's why we're light spherical energy, because we are the brightest, because we are the epicenter. So we are the image of the central sun. It's this brightest energy, right? So we are that. So ourselves, we are the image of that light spherical energy, just like the creator. But because we are us, we don't see energy. Otherwise, we won't see anything, right? It's just brightness. So what we do is with consciousness and self-awareness, so our light spherical energy, right, us as individuals have a space structure, and this is what we see, which is our bodies, the space structure of our light spherical energy, which is a human heartbeat, the pulse of life, the pulse of creation. And we can see and perceive everything that exists, our sensory perception of everything, right? And this is consciousness.